Hi guys, it's Tracy. Welcome to today's video. I am going to be sharing a project like this today, guys. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I do love to hand letter, but I'm more of a blocky, happy dots lettering, but I wanted to try my hand into something a little bit more script, and that's a little bit intimidating for me. Even a seasoned pro with hand lettering and that kind of thing. I say that humbly, but today's project is sharing how I accomplish this, like this, with my Cricut, guys. And so I wanted to share that if you want to create fun lettering on your signs or your painted things, that you can do that. If you cannot hand letter, you can do that using your Cricut. I do want to thank them for sponsoring today's video. I'm going to be using my Cricut Explorer 3 and the Smart Stenciling material, this right here. I'm going to be sharing how I use that. The Smart material doesn't need a mat, so I am just cut it off the size that I needed it, put it into my machine. So I'm going to show you how easy it was for me to design this into in my Cricut design space. And I am so excited because, guys, y'all know me, I love to hand letter, and if that intimidates you, I'm going to show you how easy it was to create this with your Cricut. Okay guys, I'm here in Cricut design space, and the first thing I want to do is I want to pull in a circle, and I want to resize that circle. That is just kind of it's going to just be my template. I'm resizing it up there at the top in the size. I'm just resizing it to 15 inches because that is the size of my wood round. And so it's by default, it's just this color. And so next I want to do is pull in that welcome that I used that is so pretty, and I just go into images, type in the search bar welcome, find the one that I want. This is part of the Access program. And so then now I'm just putting it here on the circle, and I'm going to need to resize it. I resized it, or the size that I used is 12 inches. So I go up here at the top where my sizes are, and then that is how I know how it's going to look on my wood round. And so I can change the color just to, for my eye purposes. I don't know, I'm such a visual person. So then down here at the bottom, I want to add a text box, and then I'm going to type to our home. I want to do a more blocky font with that. So I'm just figuring out here how to work the text box, and so if figuring out, do I want the capital H, that kind of thing, and just kind of playing around with it, figuring out which font I want. And the one that you see here on the screen, that's the one that I used. If you would like to copy this exact design, feel free to. And then also I do want to point out Cricut Design Space has changed just a little. We need to go up there to the size, unlock the lock button to manipulate the what we're saying, just the boxes of what we need to manipulate. So then now to make my stencil, what I want to do is I'm going to add a shape. And so I just want to get a square. It's going to pop here on my mat. And so now what I want to do is I need to resize this because, I want it to cover this because this is going to be the overlay of my stencil. So what I need to do is just make sure that these 4 boxes are visible. So just click on that image and then come up here to the little lock, unlock that so that I can move it. I can make it bigger. I can make it, I can manipulate this box to come over my welcome. All right. And so I want to, myself, I am a messy painter. And so I want to allow myself a little bit extra, on the sides and everything, because I don't want it to bleed over onto outside of my word. Okay, I'm going to see how that is. I'm going to go ahead and lock that back. And then this right here, I want to go ahead and hold down my my control key on my Mac computer, and I want to send this to the back. Okay, so then now my welcome is on the top layer, and so then I can kind of move it here, put it in the middle so that I can, you know, have equal amount of the rectangle on each side. Okay, so then now I have my welcome on top of my square, but I need to do a little bit more to make it a stencil, all right? So what I can do, I can just start here at the bottom. So then I have my welcome here, and I kind of have, you know, ample enough space over, you know, on up above and beside. So now what I want to do is I want to just gather it like this, and I just kind of cover all of it, just diagonal with my mouse. And then where it's all attached, and then I'm just going to go down here, click slice, because what that's doing is that is slicing the word from that rectangle. And so then I just go here on top, move the top layer. There's 2 layers that I need to move out of the way, and I can get rid of those because I'm not going to use those. So then I'm left with my stencil. And so this right here is going to be my stencil. So that is how to make a welcome word stencil. So then now what I can do is send this to my machine. It's going to cut it out 12 inches, and then we can go ahead and paint it, stencil it onto our door hanger. So I do the same thing with the To Our Home, but I left this in because I wanted to share if you didn't want to put a rectangle over it to make this stencil like that. The other option is just to cut the, the wording out, and then when you cut it on the Smart Stencil material, then what you'll do is you just need to leave enough space on each side and on the top and the bottom for you to, stencil. But what you'll do is you'll take out the middle letters so that you only expose the white part of the backing of the stencil. And so using the Smart Stencil material in our Cricut makes it so much easier when we can stencil it on and everything looks so nice and hand painted. This stencil vinyl is very easy to weed, and so I want to take out the negative part of the vinyl where the welcome is, so I want to take out the actual letters, and I'm using my poking tool, which is a Cricut tool as well. And so I just start just pulling it. It weeds very well where the loops or the middles of the letters. I need to pay special attention, or I try to pay special attention that I don't accidentally pick those up, and because yes, I've lost some before. So just kind of sharing that with you because things like that happen. And it's kind of like reverse weeding because we're taking out the inner part. Usually we take out the outer of the, letters or the vinyl and put that on. And but actually we want the middle letters are the ones that are taken out. So it's a little like reverse thinking, but once you start doing it, you kind of get the hang of it. I'm going to use the Cricut transfer tape to transfer the stencil onto the tape so that I can then transfer it onto my board so that I can paint it. I'm just sharing this tip that works for me. I find it easier to pull the backing off of the stencil, kind of like backwards, and kind of burnishing it, pulling it off slowly so that I get all of the little pieces to make sure that I have my little loops and stuff of where I'm going to stencil the word onto my sign. I make sure that my stencil is down and that there's no gaps or where the bleeding would go up underneath the lettering. And so sometimes I just use my Cricut spatula or my scraping tool or anything that I have handy just to smooth everything down. Okay. My preference is just a sponge brush, and then the paint I'm going to use is just black acrylic paint. And so the key is just to put a thin layer of paint on the bottom, just to make sure that there's no bleeding underneath the stencil. I really am impressed with this stencil. I only share things that I truly believe in, and so this just gives you an idea of what I'm sharing. If you like the scripted font like this, you feel that you can't do it by hand lettering, using your Cricut die cutting machine is an easy way to help yourself cut out the stress and have some fun painting. And so what I'll do is I will put a thin coat of paint on it first, stippling it on, or just kind of, getting it on the board. Then I'll go back with 2 other coats, a little bit heavier, but that base coat really just kind of gives me that foundation that I need, that I can get those crisp lines. And if for whatever reason, something, a little mishap would happen, I'll just go back and clean it up with some paint. Now that the paint is somewhat dry, I don't let it dry completely. I want it to be wet just a little bit. And I don't know, that's just kind of how I learned how to do it. And I have to be very careful. I'm pulling this up. Beautiful word, beautiful word. So then since I'm working with a black paint, some of it kind of fleckled on here, but I paint splatter my door hangers anyway, so I'm not really worried about that. If you are a perfectionist and you don't like that look, then you'll just have to go back in and just touch it up with the same paint color that you use for the background of the door hanger. Okay, now it's ready for my second coat of paint. Since I'm using a different color on the To Our Home, you know, this is where you can get creative in the different colors of what you do, you know, for a sign or door hanger. So I'm using a different brush now, and I'm going to go in and do the same thing. I just have some paint on my sponge brush, and then I'm going to go in and put a very light coat. Okay, just a couple of things that I want to point out. You know, depending on what kind of paint you use, depending on what kind of, you know, background you have, that kind of thing, you may need to touch up some of the painting, and that is really okay because this is just turned out beautiful. The stencil just turned out beautiful. Okay, friends, that is how easy it is to make a beautiful sign like this using the Smart Stencil material from Cricut, as well as the transfer tape. And so I failed to mention earlier, but the reason that I left, you know, this part up here is because I like to add bows and, you know, maybe some florals or something like that. Anyway, but that is how that turned out. And you can just, you know, create different types of sayings, different, you know, you can personalize it. You can just do so many different things. Anyway, thanks again to Cricut for sponsoring today's video. I look forward to the next one, and we will see you all later. Y'all have a great day. God bless.